Hey, Mike. As you've kind of gone through this latest reinvention process over the last few weeks, we've seen different guys a little bit more. Is there anyone really who's maybe surprised you to this point?
I don't. I think you're pleased. You're pleased certainly with Steve's progress. Of course, he was a little young on Tuesday. He was fabulous on Saturday. But I think what we have done as a staff is to keep a complete open mind to everybody as we're trying to figure out who plays well together, how do we put guys in better position. And I really think, Sean, we're going to be trying to work on that all the way through this. Like today in practice, we'll look at some other different combinations. I think you got to keep everybody, all 9 of them, positive and keep coaching them and teaching them and understand that when they make a mistake, can they pick themselves up and get on to the next play and the next game.
Well, with some of that in mind, then, when you look back at the other night, obviously you'd like a different outcome, but are there some positives that you're able to take away from it then?
Yeah, well, I just thought our shot selection wasn't good. I mean, that, it certainly wasn't a positive. But we did, we were still hanging around and had a chance to steal it. It was one of those you were going to have to steal. It wasn't really flowing great. But I think probably more than anything, offensive efficiency, shot selection, and then we fouled too much. I had 25 points at the foul line, and we can't put people on the line like that.
Last one for me. With the situation with Cam kind of behind you now, is there anything you could have or would have done differently along those lines?
Not really.
Thanks, Mike.
Yep.
Lamont?
Hello, Mike.
Hey, Lamont.
What have you seen from Zach since inserting him into the starting lineup?
Well, he's an energy guy for us. I think he's helped us defensively. I think he's still finding himself offensively, and that's fine as we move through this thing. But a guy that can, there's energy there, there's juice there, and he's made some big plays for us, and then he's made some freshman plays for us. We just got to keep coaching him, and what helps him is he's got a great frame of mind, and he's a student. He wants to get better. He's almost too hard on himself, in my opinion, when he makes mistakes. But there's a great frame of mind to work with there.
And taking a glance at the numbers, Georgia Tech looks like they have some balanced scoring. Just what are some of the Yellow Jackets' strengths?
I think their biggest, they're physical. It's a physical group. They get on the backboard and bang away. We're going to have to hold our own in the paint. And I think they run the floor. They've got a heck of a guard in Golden who has really kind of energized them, being in his first year of eligibility. But it's interesting, as even though you're dealing with all these new teams, I still have a new team. And I've really, most of my focus, I have not spent as much time watching opponents right now as watching us, thinking about us. But when you think about Brian and his system and where he came from at Michigan State, defend and rebound physically is a trait of Brian's teams.
Mike, this is Don Marcus from the Baltimore Sun.
Don, we're just taking questions in order. You're
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay, no, thanks. No, you're on my list. Lamont, do you have any other follow-up questions for Mike?
Oh, all set. Thanks, Mike.
Okay, Chris Hine.
Hey, Coach. We spent a lot of time talking about, how Eric's role has transformed since Jaron went out. But can you talk about what it's meant for Pat and kind of how he stepped up since that happened?
I think Pat had a real evolution of trying to find himself in our offense without Jaron. I think of the 3 main guys, Sherm, him, and Eric. He was the one trying to figure out, how do I score it? Where do I get my shots? And I really think in the last 2 weeks he's kind of found himself. You'll notice he gets a lot of stuff now kind of off dribble handoffs and shooting behind a big guy on a dribble handoff. I think he's been a strategic driver for us as well. And that's kind of been a little bit a new way of playing for him. And I still think that's evolving. But I've been pleased with really the last 2 games. I think the Canisius game, I think he struggled trying to figure it out. But I think he's adjusted since then and is in a pretty good rhythm right now.
And when you look at his game from last year to this year, what has changed in his game? What's improved?
Well, you know, the biggest thing is he's leading this year. We needed him to be a voice and lead for us, and he's done that. He's really respected in this program. He's a great teammate, and that was the first thing. You know, his ability to put it on the floor at key times. You know, he's not just a jump shooter. He's getting to the basket. And I love when he rebounds for us. You know, I think he's been an even more consistent defensive rebounder for us. Still an excellent defender. Still a guy that we will put on the best perimeter guy. Whether we'll put him on a 4-man and we'll put him on a point guard. And so he's really a versatile guy in those areas defensively.
Thanks, Coach.
Mm-hmm.
Don, your questions, please.
Okay. Hey, Mike.
Hey, Don, we jump on people when they get out of order out here. Jeez, huh?
I know.
What's going on, partner? How you doing?
Good. And I'm sure you've talked, and I hear you've talked about Eric's role a lot. But let me ask you a question in terms of, do you feel that he has to play the same role and not try to do too much? Like I'm looking at, you know, the game he had against Duke and then the game he had against State. Does he just have to play the role he's there to do, or does he have to do more because Grant's out?
He has to do more, Don. He really does. And I think he started that right away in the Canisius game, getting 30 and just not letting us lose. Duke game, the last 10 minutes, he's pretty much just, you know, making plays for us. Probably in the State game, forced a few. We've probably forced a few, but for him, it's a fine. One of the things we talked about in the locker room after the Ohio State game, when we knew that was Jaron's last game, was you got to be more aggressive and, you know, let's have fun with it. And I actually said to him, I said, you probably could be first team all league with how aggressive you can be. Right now, he's kind of looking like that. But we do need him to do more offensively. I still think there's a balance point of when to drive and dish to other guys and when to go hunt stuff for himself. And I think we'll always be analyzing that throughout the game and throughout the season.
Can you talk about how he has evolved from freshman year and obviously always been a solid player, but now sort of really taking a big role offensively?
Well, as a freshman on a great team, you know, he was a steady guy coming off the bench for us and helped us in some great wins, even though he played with all those old guys. He was the lone young guy playing with a really old and talented group. And his assist to turnover led the league as a freshman. Kind of tells you he's always been steady, knows how to play, thinking the game. He's going to be a great coach someday when he's done playing. And he and I have talked about that. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see him on my coaching staff someday. But he's got some playing to do after Notre Dame. And as he became a captain and the quarterback, he's become more of a voice and a leader. And there is no doubt who is setting the tone with this group. That was true with Jaron. Now it's even more so a lot on him. You know, I told him, I said, you know, everybody can lead when it's all nice and you're rolling along. I said, boy, leading now in a time of, again, when we came back from Christmas, some crisis and trying to figure it out, that's the test of a true leader. But his demeanor is steady, and he doesn't get overly emotional, and I think that really plays well into why he's so solid on a day-to-day basis. You know, he's one of those guys, even as a freshman, he was the same guy in practice every day. He never tried to experiment with his game. Now, all of a sudden, we need him to do more, and he's doing it, and he's delivering.
Just quick question. question about the new teams coming into the ACC. Aside from the game you guys had Tuesday night, it seems like the Big East influence is there, and the style of play is there. I know I saw the Pitt Maryland game the other night, and they were a little amazed at how physical Pitt was. Do you think that's to the advantage of the Big East teams, or because of the way the rules have changed and the way the game's being called this year? Is there an adjustment period, and maybe you guys can't be as physical as you've been?
Well, I think with the new rule, it negates maybe how league teams have a style, a Big East style, an ACC style, a Big Ten style. I think that's been the great equalizer in whatever style you played, especially if you're an overly physical group. That's kind of been reeled back in. Now, I'll be interested to see if it continues through league play. Again, we've had slippage in that before, but boy, it's really mandated this year. It's not a point of emphasis. It is a rule, and I know John Adams is going to stay on officials hard if there's any slippage with the game getting too physical or we're letting things go. But Don, I think that's kind of been a bit of an equalizer in how you play. And, it's interesting. We've talked about as a staff, we said, it's almost like being in your non-league schedule again because everybody's new. You're looking at Georgia Tech, you're looking at Maryland, and I don't know their guys as well. You don't have a history with them like you did with Georgetown, and we had a Pittsburgh drill we'd have a Georgetown drill. We don't really have those for these people. Conversely, we're new too. We're kind of new to them, and they're trying to learn us. So I think it's been intriguing to watch all these leagues in their new settings and how people adjust. Thanks, Don.
Does anyone have any follow? Hello? I'm sorry.
I just said congratulations to Mike.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you.
Does anyone have any follow-up questions before we move to the media that's here in person?
How much did the familiarity of the towns, the arenas, the hotels allow you to really embrace and excel in the rhythm of the league road schedule?
Yeah, for me, when we did it, I'm thinking, okay, we're going to be in Atlanta, College Park. I mean, I remember those places. I remember, going into those towns, and there was a little bit of a comfort level knowing you've played in those facilities. Now, some of them have new facilities, and many of them have been refurbished. But you weren't going blind. I mean, if you went to the Big Ten or the Big 12, I think you would have been a little more anxious. You do have a bit of a feel, as does two guys on my coaching staff, Anthony and Rod, in that they played in the league.
When you went through the Big East, you talked a lot about the ponytailed security guard in Providence. Who are some of the other guys, people that you would see in Verizon Center, Philly?
Well, Verizon Center in D.C., the security guy that would walk out with me was one of my former students at DeMatha. He was in my history class, Xavier Red. He always had me when we were there. So we'd catch up a little bit, and then he'd walk out with me. When you went through the Big East, of course, at the Carrier Dome, they still throw orange slices back in there. That's probably to psychologically mess with you a little bit. Man, we haven't done that orange slices since we played in our 8th grade team at halftime, right, or junior high team. So that was a memory in Syracuse. The Peterson Center, having to park on that, like, downhill grade and almost slip as you get off the bus, sneaking in the back way there. The coach's locker room there, almost slipping and falling when I came in to kind of high-five our team after the win last year because there was a wet spot. I think Zach caught me. Which is amazing because he wasn't playing much then, the hotels, of course, Morgantown, we had memories there. We stayed in the same hotel for a long. There's history in those places, which you don't have that. You don't have that familiarity. This is all kind of new, but it's kind of exciting because it's new. It's refreshing that it's new. Trying to build up some feel and some tradition on the road.
What is it about these guys that allows you to they'll handle the road atmosphere in new places?
Because of how we played at Iowa, down in Indianapolis, and in the Garden, where I feel really we had three kind of road atmospheres, and we played really fearlessly and, had a chance to win all three. Obviously got the one. We have tested ourselves in atmospheres like this. One true road, the other two neutral, but leaning the other team's way. So you feel, you can go into this place, and I do think it's going to be interesting to see the crowds, because I think many of the crowds in the Southeast want to come out and see us and root like heck against us, because Notre Dame has not been down through the Southeast. So I think we've got to be ready to, feel a lot of venom when we go into these places, because we've just not been to their town.
I know you said you aren't watching maybe as much film of the opponent, but Georgia Tech lost their leading rebounder, Carter.
That's a big loss.
Yeah.
Well, they're still physical, though, up front, but he was a double-double guy for them. I think what strikes me is they still have physical inside guys, but their wings are big and physical. And sometimes we're a little small and we're a little young out there matching up with that. And that's a concern moving forward. If we get back into our offensive efficiency where shot selection, reverse the ball more, that has always, when we played physical teams in the Big East, that has always been the great neutralizer, that we've been good with the ball and getting good shots. But if we're going to be erratic offensively, like we were at key times on Tuesday, we're going to be in trouble. And that's really kind of what we need to coach here the next couple days.
What is the next step for Zach August? What are you looking for from him?
Yeah, rebound. I challenged him. I said, you played 17, 18 minutes. You only had 2 rebounds. We need you to rebound more. Rebound, run the floor, defend, be active around that. I am not so concerned about his low post moves. Sherm is that guy for us. Not that we won't throw it into Zach, but we're not looking to just chuck it into him to make a low post move. He's a ball screen, roll to the basket guy. When he ball screens and he doesn't roll, I get upset with him. We need that big body rolling down the lane. And then he's on the backboard and running the floor and doing that. And that's how we want to keep it. That's his role, and that's we got to keep coaching him on that.
Does he watch Sherman play and say, hey, I should have those moves too?
Yeah, no, I don't think so. I mean, I think, I think he's clear with, Sherm has delivered and has delivered since the first day of practice, where he missed a month of practice. I think he understands, okay, I play this way, I play off of that. And again, if he gets outside that box, then we have Tom Knight or Austin Burgett. You got to play somebody else. He obviously he's starting, and he's earned that. But starting doesn't mean we're going to get you 12 shots, necessarily.
I know you said the other night that you don't want to put too much on Demetrius right away or overburden him. But can you live with him playing 20-some minutes, taking 3 shots?
Yeah, no, we need to kind of find some spots for him to get in there and create. He could be more efficient for us offensively too, and score the ball for us some more. And I think that's just still a process. He'll have practices where he does that, and he's been up and down in games doing that. But I think there's ways of doing that. You get the ball in his hands a little bit more to initiate the offense sometimes. Do you run some things that we used to run for Jaron, for him, ball screening situations? I think that's something we have to look at more, and we will today and tomorrow.
We've talked plenty about Eric and Pat having to step up with Jaron gone, and maybe in a different position. Sherman has certainly produced in the last couple of games. What are you seeing from him, and what's his ceiling?
Yeah, I mean, he's really confident for us. I mean, I'm really pleased with how he's playing for us. He anchors us back there defensively. He's rebounding the ball at a high clip. you know, he's a low post scoring threat for us, and he's a passer for us now. He's kicking that ball out. One of the things I think he can do better, and we watched film in here and talked about it, is kicking it out when there's a little too much traffic around the bucket instead of trying to go up and draw the foul. For all our big guys, I thought we tried to go through stuff to draw a foul the other night on Tuesday when we probably just kicked that thing back out. We got a shooter, reverse it, we'll come back to you on the other side. Sherm right now is leading. He's confident. He's got a great demeanor. He coaches our young guys. When the big guys are down with Coach Bolanos, he can talk to Zach, and he can talk to Austin Burgett and Austin Torres and Contenda, and he has a way of kind of coaching them as a fifth-year senior, and they really value that. Like, he's really good with Zach. They've been playing a lot together now in practice. He is helpful to Zach, maybe more so than I can be or Coach Bolanos can be.
He probably likes having Zach in there doing different things.
Yeah, no, Zach is a big target for him to throw it to sometimes. They're a pretty good little tag team together, and I think that's still developing, that whole thing. But I think he could keep Zach calm. Zach's an emotional guy, and a lot of that is good. We want that juice and that edge about him. But he also, in a huddle, can reel him in and go, hey, a couple deep breaths, man. All right?
And earlier you said this year you have to watch your own team more than you have to watch the opponents. Is this kind of the worst possible year for that team?
Yeah, it's maybe not the best. I mean, you have a great staff here that can really break down, the other team. But my mind is so much on us and who we are and should we look at this? Scouting can be overrated. It really can. You can get to a point where you can, and the longer I've gone in coaching, overall, the less I've done with the opponent. But more than anything else, with this group and who we are and what we're trying to become, I really need to think about them. And, I got a good prep here, hour and a half this morning on Georgia Tech. I'll get a little bit more after that. And then, you know what? Let's get Notre Dame better before we take the floor at noon.
You touched on another energy guy, Zach August, a bit, but with Austin Burgett, how do you get more consistent?
Yeah, we just needs to be confident. I mean, he's going to play, and if he has an open shot, we want him to take it. The one thing he does for us is he can defend, and he's easy to play with because he moves and screens off the ball. He does that. Now, he's another guy I challenged yesterday. I think he played 14 minutes and didn't have a rebound. He's got to rebound the ball for us. I don't want him looking over his shoulder or thinking I'm going to yank him when he makes a mistake. I mean, we don't have I've never really coached that way anyways, but more so than ever before. I need 9 guys with their heads right, every day in practice and certainly on game day. So just, keeping him positive. Here's some things to look at today in practice. But today I'm going to talk to him about, can you be the leading rebounder in practice today? I want you to concentrate on that today. I don't care about your shot. I'm going to look at the rebound stats at 4:30 today. I want to see where you are. That's, you might want to tweet that out because I haven't said that to him yet, so he gets a heads up.
One guy we talk about periodically, Eric Contenda. I was wondering what you think on how he's
he is struggling with that knee. We had the surgery. We brought him back. He practiced hard for a week, and it's swollen up. We've shut him down now for, I think, 10 days. Again, I really feel for the young man because he has had no luck on the injury front. He has a great frame of mind and a great attitude, and he's a heck of a teammate to some of these other guys, especially the young guys, the freshmen. But he's just never been able to get consistent reps in practice to really evaluate him for a game. I've got an open mind. If he gets healthy and he becomes the 10th body for us, in 3 weeks or a month, we may throw him in there. But right now, he's not practicing right now because the knee swelled up.
I don't know if we've ever asked him about Pat Crowley, but why is he your walk-on?
Pat Crowley was, we've always loved maturity and older guys as walk-ons, and even when we took him as a sophomore, he's an older soul. He is great with Sherm. he is Sherm's, maybe he's Sherm's therapist. You know, he is really good. He's our bench captain. You know, I told him he kind of is in charge of keeping our bench engaged, or not too overly engaged. But he's athletic. When we put him in, when he's in practice playing against Eric Atkins or Demetrius Jackson, he can guard them physically. You know, we got a walk-on who dunks. You know, there's not many walk-ons who go up and dunk it like he does. But just really gets it. He's been in our program. I think he's been really helpful to the 3 young guards because he's an old guy. He pulls them aside. We've had him in workouts with him. Just a solid older guy who gets our program and our system and has been through the ups and downs of seasons before and can lead. Yep. Well, that's the plan, unless we would, you know, I mean, he's always on the ready, as we now have 9, and knock on wood can keep 9 healthy. But after the Duke game, Burgett had a little bit of a wrist situation, checked out to be fine. But one of the things I talked to him about was, you know, if this thing is not as, if we have more of a problem than I think with Burgett's wrist, be ready. So I think he is on call. We would like to stay with the 5-year plan. You know, you can always come back to the 5-year plan another time, you know, if we have to. But right now, on call.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.